Robbie, I want to come to you. Jesus said, go make disciples of all the nations, okay? We have 2.8 billion people in the world that nobody is bringing the gospel to them. They don't have the gospel. They don't have a Bible. They don't know the gospel message. And unless somebody goes, they're going to die and go to hell because they have never heard. And we here in America are sitting back wondering, what should we do? Okay? If we were those people and the other guys were the Christians, wouldn't we want them to come and talk to us somewhere along the line? Mm-hmm. Bring the gospel?
Yeah, and I think discipleship addresses this because what you do in your discipleship group, you're not just teaching to the head, but you're motivating to the heart by giving them excuses to act different, by putting them in different situations. Dave was talking earlier about prayer, and I like to take my discipleship group twice to the prison. Not to prison, but go to preach in prison. And so so I go in, and I remember one instance a couple years ago, we had been teaching on providential prayer. If God knows everything and God commands us to pray, then, you know, what is that balance of prayer? And so we took them into the prison, and I was sharing my testimony. It was in this huge kind of a corridor, and we had the ladies here and two men's sections here, and the only thing separating us from the inmates was a yellow line on the ground. And so literally these guys were pretty nervous. They were sitting in the back. And at the end of the message, I said, if anyone's in here would like for us to pray for you, step to the yellow line. And we had a few guys come forward, and I looked over at the chaplain and I said, can we go in there? And he said, yeah, you're a pastor, you can go in there. And so I looked at the guys and I said, let's go in. And they said, in where? And I said, we're going in there. And it was amazing because immediately these guys began to pray. And at one point I looked over, and each of those three guys had one guy they were praying with, weeping and crying. We got in the car, and one guy who had been raised in church said, Robbie, I learned more about prayer tonight than I had learned in my entire life. And it showed me that imitation happens when we see someone model it for us.
When did you first go overseas?
I had been going back to junior high school, had opportunities to go overseas. But there was one trip in particular when I was in a third world context, just surrounded by poverty, and just had my eyes open in an entirely new way to the realities of spiritual and physical poverty around the world. And I remember coming back, it was one of kind of those draw on the ground moments where I was thinking, how is my life here going to impact the spread of the gospel there? And that's just been reinforced every time I'm with brothers and sisters around the world, whether it's in southern Sudan with brothers and sisters who've been through war and who look at you with a smile on their face and say, God is greater than all the stuff we've lost. And to gather together with brothers and sisters in underground contexts in Asia and to see them just weeping in tears because they want to see people around them come to know Christ.
How have you motivated some of your people to go for the very first time that have never gone before?
So what we do in light of that is we challenge every single member in our church to say every year we challenge them to consider giving 2% of their life in some other context in the world sharing the gospel, which works out to about a week of their life. So what we say is you give 2% of your life somewhere else, it'll radically transform the other 98% of your life you live here. And short-term mission like that is a part of our long-term disciple-making process because people go and they're involved in mission and they come back and they realize, I can do some of these same things right across the street. Then other people go and they say, there's so much need in the world, all these people have never heard the gospel, maybe I don't need to come back. And we tell people, if you go and you don't want to come back, like don't fly, we'll send your stuff to you. Like you can stay there. We would love for you to leave the church and go make the church, establish the church there where it's not. And so in that way, short-term mission then fuels long-term mission.